on the Miami Heat instead of the Houston Rockets. And the reason that this is, I guess, something I am discussing is I saw an article that not Nikola Jokic, similar names, but they're not the same person, different people. Nikola Jokic, he's on the Miami Heat, a young up-and-coming player. And he was apparently on a podcast talking about how at the trade deadline there were rumors about, Kevin Durant potentially going to the Miami Heat and that his name, was coming up, in those rumors. And so it didn't end up happening, of course. Kevin Durant, he ended up, going to the Houston Rockets now as he is. And so that obviously is a moot point in the sense that, it never happened. But what if Kevin Durant ended up on the Miami Heat instead of the Houston Rockets? What would the Heat roster be looking like? What would their, season last year, where would it have ended? And what would their future be looking like? Because Kevin Durant, 37 or whatever, but he's still Kevin Durant. And if you add Kevin Durant to the Miami Heat now, we don't know what the package, was going to be. You would think that it was some kind of Jimmy Kevin Durant swap in a way because Jimmy wanted out, allegedly, and he obviously, got traded to the Warriors. But at the same time, I'm a little confused only because the Phoenix Suns were over the second tax apron, which meant, I guess it would have been a 3-team deal, maybe, but they were over the second tax apron, which means they could only do a pure swap. So it would have to be Kevin Durant for Jimmy or whoever. It had to be a one-on-one, trade. That's the way they had to do it because of the Phoenix Suns, salary cap situation. So I guess it would have been a 3-team trade because Nikola Jokic was in the, conversations for Kevin Durant. I'm not really sure, because we don't even know what would have happened. We don't have, any kind of report on what the offer, was for whatever that package was. But I say all that to say, if Kevin Durant was on the Miami Heat, I mean, obviously they would have still kept Bam Adebayo. Again, I'm assuming Jimmy would be gone. And then I guess they keep Tyler Hero as well. I don't know if Jaime Jaquez would have had to have been included in the deal. Obviously he is a player that teams want. Again, I don't know what the package would have been. But if Kevin Durant's on that Miami Heat team, who's to say they don't get out of the first round? I don't know. The season would have finished completely differently. So I don't know, where they would end up, in the seeding, because matchups matter. So they could have potentially got out of the first round if they had Kevin Durant. And if they had Kevin Durant, let's just say, they don't get out of the first round, whatever. If they had Kevin Durant now, obviously they would be, trying to put pieces around Kevin Durant to make themselves championship contenders because Kevin Durant's championship window is now. So it's just, again, a hypothetical. It's, nothing to, spark a little, conversation between us because it was just something I was thinking about when I saw that, article or I guess, comment from Nikola Jokic about him potentially being in a Kevin Durant deal last February. So do we think that the Miami Heat would be championship contenders this upcoming season if they had Kevin Durant. Because you got to imagine that if they have Kevin Durant, we know Pat Riley's going to, try to win. And so it would be hard for me to imagine that they wouldn't like put all their chips on the table and try to get the best possible team around Kevin Durant. Even if maybe they meant sacrificing a couple of the younger guys who they really like and they don't want to get rid of, but Kevin Durant's championship window is right now. So I am, again, this is all hypothetical. There's no there's nothing to really say since it didn't happen. But I'm thinking and I'm curious and I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are. If Kevin Durant was on the Miami Heat right now, which player do you think that they would have gotten this offseason to pair with Kevin Durant? Which player? Because there wasn't a ton of available, I guess, superstar free agents, right? From my recollection. So, it's not like, I always say in the videos, LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, because it's just the easiest, superstars that people recognize and name, But it's not like those guys. Well, LeBron actually was technically available, by the way. He picked up his player option, but you know what I'm saying. Like, those type of guys, were not available. Shea, Jokic, those guys. So, I'm curious to think. I feel like they would have to have gone after a point guard because they were, or are, I guess, they were kind of lacking a point guard. Obviously, Bam's still there. They have their center. Tyler Hero, I know he plays the point at times. He did it pretty well last year, but that's not his natural position, I guess. Like, he's, in my opinion, more of a 2. Not that he can't play the 1, but, like, it's kind of like Devin Booker to me. I know people will, debate, as the saying goes, till the cows come home, about Devin Booker being able to play the point and playing it well. And I'm not saying Devin Booker can't play the point guard position well, but his natural position and what he does best, in my opinion, is being the 2. Like when he played alongside Chris Paul, that allowed him to do what he does best. Because if you're asking Devin Booker to have to be a facilitator all the time, like that takes away a lot of his, energy and stuff like that from being like a pure scorer. Not that he's one-dimensional and he only scores, but you know what I'm saying. So I feel like it's kind of similar with Tyler Hero. Again, that's not to say that, Tyler Hero shouldn't ever play the point and he shouldn't, have multiple skills, but like you also want players in their natural position to maximize their talent and what they do best. So I say all that to say, I feel like their number 1 target would have had to been a point guard. I don't know if they would have, like, because again, if Kevin Durant's there, again, hypothetical, everything changes. A point guard who is currently on a team who, quote unquote, is happy or whatever, may have been, had a wandering eye and thinking like, oh, maybe I'll go to Miami and, team up with Kevin Durant. And then obviously it would have to be a trade, in that scenario. So I don't know who exactly would have been available, but like, okay, I don't think this would happen. So I'm not trying to like make up something. And I don't think he was available yet, and I don't think he's still available. And I don't know that Miami would have the package for him because they would have to include Bam in order to make this work. And they definitely don't want to include Bam. But just hypothetically, we have heard rumors about Ja Morant potentially, being moved. Am I saying Kevin Durant and Ja Morant are the best fit? I'm not so sure they're the best fit ever. What I'm saying is like, that is, a star point guard who, can get it done any given night. So would they have called the Grizzlies about Ja Morant? maybe. Um, like I said, it just depends on who will be available. I know someone's going to say Kyrie Irving. Unfortunately, Kyrie is hurt, so that wouldn't make sense. And he seems to be happy in Dallas anyway, so I don't think that would happen. But yeah, I think they would go after a point guard, and Kevin Durant with Eric Spoelstra. Like I always talk about Eric Spoelstra on this channel. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches. He just maximizes all his players and their talent, and it's just like you give Eric Spoelstra anybody, and he can just make them amazing. Like obviously the player has to put in work and be talented as well, but you know what I'm saying. Like Eric Spoelstra is so good at maximizing talent. So imagine he had someone like Kevin Durant. Sky's the limit, right? Somebody said Westbrook. Well, he is a free agent, but I'm saying like in terms of like another star to pair with Kevin Durant. But hey, I don't know if Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, I don't know what their relationship is, so maybe not. I'm not sure. But obviously, Russell Westbrook, the one thing you can always say about him, 100% effort all the time. You will never question his effort and energy. He is always trying. And that's really important. Somebody said, good to see you're back. Miss your videos. Oh, I'm so glad that, I guess the algorithm brought you back to my videos, and I'm glad you're enjoying them. And yeah, so just a random hypothetical thought. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye.